22. We're going to skip these first two problems because I did not give you the papers for those, so we're skipping those. We're going to focus here at the bottom of this page. Cross out where it says work with a partner. You're just going to do it by yourself. You're going to... No,
We're very good school.
all I'm saying is you're not going to move around the room and get with a partner. Jackson, do you need a new seat? Thank you. Addison, can you go to a desk, please? Thank you.
My legs really hurt. What? My legs hurt.
Okay. I don't know that sitting on the ground is going to help that. Okay. All right. So we have a bunch of data here that we're going to take this. These are our x values. These are our y values. And we're going to make them into ordered pairs. We're going to scatter the plots. And then we're going to describe the relationship. Cross out where it says, how is this relationship similar between the weight and circumference in activity 1? We didn't do that, so there's nothing to compare there. So go ahead and fill in those plots, scatter the plots if you will, and then we'll talk. Okay, go ahead and check your scatter plot, compare it to mine. I'm sorry?
Why do you have one like all the way? Like I'm confused.
Oh, am I on the wrong spot?
I didn't know if that was me.
Nope. I just should have it here. It was all the way over to this last one. I thought that was the last. Yep. Thank you for asking. Any questions about our scatter plot? No? Okay, so describe the relationship. What's happening here?
Going decreasing.
It's decreasing.
The more absences, the less grades.
Yeah, so it would be considered negative linear because it's definitely, we could take a ruler and we could draw a line that's really close to all these points. And then absences increase as grade decreases. Right? So the more you're absent, it's harder to do things, right? Because you're not here for the instruction. So you're probably not going to have a fantastic grade. Okay, so the next page asks you to make a prediction of if you had 6 absences, what would your final grade be? So I'm going to leave this up here so you guys can use the graph to make that prediction. So who wants to share with me? What do you think a good prediction would be? What do you think? Mia?
80 or 75%.
Yeah, about 80%. And why? How did you know that would be about 80%? What about the scatter plot? Oops, it's not unfrozen, sorry. What about the scatter plot tells you that that's going to be about 80%? How'd you know? You're right, but how did you know? Anybody want to help me out? How did you know it was about 80%? Maggie, how'd you know?
Follow the line.
Yeah, so if you look at the trend, you can see that 6 absences would probably be around here because you can see that the data is going in that direction at that speed. So it's kind of like we just used the trend of the plots. Now nothing's guaranteed. Maybe somebody who's absent 6 days still can get, 95%. They could be an outlier. But if we're just going off the trends and what we have, that makes the most sense. This next section wants us to match up a scenario to a scatter plot. So go ahead and read the scenario and tell me which one it would go with for each of A, B, and C. All right. Which scatter plot goes best with month of birth and birth weight for infants at a daycare? What do you think, Jackson?
2.
Yeah, it's right. They're going to have nothing to do with each other, right? So birth weight and birth month.
That was A.
Yeah.
That was A.
Oh, this should be A. Yeah, I'm like, no, it really does go here. Yes, this should be the letter A. Have nothing to do with each other. Right? The time of year you're born does not have any correlation to how much you will weigh when you're born. Okay, how about quiz score and test score for each student in a class? What do you think? Maggie?
The last 1, 3.
It's actually the first one. And here's why. Because if you have a lower quiz score, probably your test score is also going to be lower, right? I can see,
Oh yeah.
but like it's going to be an increasing graph, and I can see how you, if this was a quiz and you had said this one because, and you explained it, then if you said, well, the higher the quiz score, the higher the test score, then I would have been like, yeah, that totally works. However, C goes with this one better because your laptop value is going to decrease over time. So that's why this should be C, and then this would be B, right? As soon as you buy something, the value of it decreases automatically. Do you guys know where you lose the most value for an item, right, as soon as you buy it? Do you know which item I'm talking about? A car? The second you drive it out at the dealership, you lose like $8,000. That's just the way it is. Now, oddly enough, right now, this time in our history, used cars are like selling for more than new cars because it's hard to find a new car because they don't have those little chips. So people are making a lot of money on their used cars like never before because they don't have those little technology chip things that they need.
What are those things? Where are the chips going? Oh,
so I'll tell you, you want to hear a story?
Oh, yeah. I love your story.
Listen, I researched this because I was so confused. So what happened is when the pandemic first started, all of the tech companies that would make those chips, those tiny little chips for the cars, found that the car dealerships were no longer selling cars as fast as they needed to because people weren't going anywhere, right? So there was a backup. So all these tech companies figured out a way to make something else that they could then sell because they had to still sell a product. Well, then when the car manufacturing rebounded, the tech companies didn't have the ability to make all the chips that they needed because they found something else to do to make money. So that's why it took forever, and it's still, a process. They're still behind because they had to figure out a different way to make money.
Oh.
So then when the car dealers were like, wait, we want these chips again, they were like, sorry.
What were they making for money?
I don't know.
Oh. What do you mean by chips?
They're the little device, like the little technology.
Those are like chips,
They're made out of a specific type of metal, and so
What do they do?
they run your car.
So they were selling cars that wouldn't run on chips?
They couldn't sell the cars. There were.
Nobody can buy cars anymore? Unless they're used?
That's why it's really hard to find a brand new car because they don't have the chip that they need. I know.
But
Trust me, I know. I hear you. Okay, how would you define a scatter plot? How would you define it?
Random dots.
Disorganized.
The trends.
A
Not in a straight line.
A
Dots that are scattered.
dots that are scattered. Perfect.
oh my god.
Wow.
You're really good at it.
You found it in my desk. You should find it.
Right? We're talking about dots that are scattered, right? Used to determine relationships, right? We know right away that there's no relationship to birth weight and birth month because the way these are plotted and scattered tell us that there's no rhyme or reason, right? You can have a giant baby in February, you can have a tiny baby in February. Doesn't matter.
Ginormous, surely. I want a ginormous baby.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Really fat one.
It has to go out somewhere.
So, how do we construct and interpret? Well, we plot the points. And then we analyze the trend. We try to see if there is, in fact, a trend. Okay, next page. I want you guys to answer A and B here based on the bowling league and the number of participants in said bowling league? Okay. About how many people were in the league in 2008?
17.
About 17. How did you know that?
17 and between 50 and 9.
Yeah, so you go to where 2008 would be. This is about 17. We can't have half a human, so we say 17 instead of 17 and a half, right?
What? Oh, okay. Sorry. I was a little confused for a minute.
Okay, I don't know if we talked about this on Friday, but this is called an axis break. And really all that does is it kind of jumps so we don't have to show all the years leading up to 2007. It just kind of says like, hey, we're going to start here knowing that we didn't list every single year up until then, right? Because this must have been when the league started. What's the relationship? It's actually going to be linear. I heard you say that, Maddie, but I heard nonlinear too. Because if I had to, with a ruler, draw a line, guys, nonlinear is going to be so obvious, like it's going to be a huge curve. Like you're.
You can't draw a straight line with that with a ruler.
But you can get it. But you can like get it really close to a lot of numbers. But if it was,
It's just like about.
it's about linear. Now, if it was like this, Maggie, where all the points are like in a super curves, you can't draw a line with that, right? So. That's how you know. All right. This last section, describe the relationships and then identify outliers, gaps, or clusters. Go ahead and work on 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to tell you right now, this is just nonlinear. And then no outliers, gaps, or clusters. you need more time, are you ready to check your answers?
Ready to check my answers.
Put your phone away, Alex. Any questions about the descriptions, the relationships? When I say a cluster at x equals 3, it's because right here, when I go over to 3 on the x-axis, there's a cluster of 3 points here. Gap between 6 and 10 on the x-axis. Right. There's a cluster around here between 3 and 4. Any questions? Because tomorrow we start trend lines.
Yay.
So you know how you guys made the decision that there were probably about 80% grade when there were 6 absences? We used a trend to determine that, so we're just going to make a line to represent that trend. Well, we're done, except now we're going to watch an episode of Bluey.